Hello and welcome into this week's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Cup Rewind, we're looking back at Sunday's 50th annual GEICO 500, 188 laps, 500 miles around the 2.66 mile Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. Crazy race. Personally, I think it was a fantastic race. There are still some things that could be improved on, but this is a huge improvement over what we have seen from plate races in recent years. This was a good Talladega race. 6 caution flags in this race for a total of 21 laps. And that seems like a low number of cautions too for something you would consider a good Talladega race, but it had really good racing throughout the entire race that I was extremely impressed with. Lap 12 was the first caution with a multi-car incident in Turn 1 involving Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, Michael McDowell, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, and Matt Tifft. Bubba Wallace kind of doing a little bit of aggressive bump drafting on Ryan Blaney, headed down into Turn 1. Got Blaney sideways, and then Bubba, trying to avoid wadding up the 12 car, ends up wadding up his own car and a bunch of others. So, interesting how that worked out. Stage 1 concluded at lap 55 with Ty Dillon taking the stage victory. It was just a couple of weeks ago we were talking about him winning his first stage ever, and now he's got 2 stage victories. So is that 13-car Germain Racing kind of turned it around a little bit? I know it's Talladega, and really a lot of stuff that happens at Talladega doesn't correlate to the rest of the season, but that 13-car has shown a little bit of speed lately. Lap 110 was the conclusion of Stage 2. Nothing really caution-wise happening in Stage 2. Chase Elliott took the Stage 2 victory. Then a couple of incidents in the final stage. Lap 133, caution for debris on the backstretch. Lap 183, we had a multi-car incident on the backstretch that spurred almost a 9-minute red flag involving Eric Almirola, Martin Truex, Chris Buescher, the 77 of Justin Haley, and the 95 of Matt DiBenedetto. Tough luck for Matt DiBenedetto. Both plate races thus far this season, that 95 car has been extremely fast, running up front, and gets caught up in a wreck both times thus far on the plate tracks. Final caution came at lap 188. This would end the race as they were coming down the backstretch. Another multi-car incident involving Ricky Stenhouse, William Byron, Kyle Larson, David Reagan, and Jeffrey Earnhardt. Larson actually flipping multiple times. I never did count how many flips he did. I probably should have. But it was a lot, and it was the right call by NASCAR to throw the caution before they got back around to the line, because you got to figure if somebody's barrel rolling down the backstretch, you got to get there for their safety. So, good call by NASCAR there to end the race under caution as the cars were heading into 3. And 37 lead changes among 15 drivers in this race. We had a lot of jockeying for the lead. I don't remember a point in this race where it ever single filed out to a train around the top. It did that at one point in the Xfinity race. I don't think it ever did that in this race, other than when they were in the middle of green flag pit stops and there wasn't much of a pack. They kind of single filed out for a few laps, but when they weren't in the middle of pit stops, I don't remember a point where they ever actually single filed out. It was good, hard, back and forth, double file, 3-wide racing throughout the entire race. Leading the most laps in this race was Chase Elliott. 45 laps led. 37 laps went to Joey Logano. 27 laps led by Eric Almirola. 16 laps were led by Ricky Stenhouse. 11 laps went to Martin Truex. 10 laps were led by Brad Keselowski. 9 laps went to Ross Chastain. He led for a little bit there in the middle of green flag pit stop. 7 laps apiece went to Alex Bowman and Ty Dillon. 5 laps were led by Brendan Gaughan. 4 laps went to Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney, as well as Eric Jones, also leading 4 laps in this race. And 1 lap apiece went to Kyle Larson and Matt DiBenedetto. All right, so on to the results for this race. It was a wild, crazy race. We didn't get back to the start-finish line, so the finish may not have been as crazy as it was probably setting up to be. That being said, Chase Elliott picks up his 4th career victory in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, his first at Talladega, and they call it Earnhardt Nation there at Talladega. I think today it was Elliott Nation. It was, I don't know that I've heard a crowd that happy since, I don't think since Elliott won at Watkins Glen last year, so which is not surprising. The Elliott name's always been pretty big there at Talladega, as well as the Earnhardt name. Elliott's being just from up the road in Dawsonville, Georgia, so not a huge surprise there. His teammate Alex Bowman pushed him to the caution flag, finished in the 2nd position, and another Chevy teammate, Ryan Preece, came home with a solid 3rd place finish. Joey Logano had the lead until the final restart and then got shuffled out and never could quite get back to the lead. 4th place for Joey Logano. Daniel Hemrick with a strong top 5 finish. Rest of your top 10, Kurt Busch, Ryan Newman. A strong run for Brendan Gaughan in one of his few races of the season. Kudos to him. In a car that he didn't practice or qualify, as he had to go back home to Vegas this weekend. Eric Almirola and Kyle Busch rounded out the top 10. 11th through 20th, Corey LaJoie with a strong run in the 11th position. Daniel Suarez was mixing it up for the lead there late and then got shuffled back and never could quite get back up there. 12th place for Daniel Suarez. Brad Keselowski had a fast car as well. He came home in 13th. Ryan Blaney there in the 15th position. Ty Dillon, your Stage 1 winner, ended up in the 17th position. Eric Jones came home 20th. Martin Truex Jr. in 20th. 21st through 30th, Jeffrey Earnhardt had a strong run going late. He was inside the top 5 a couple of times, but ended up getting caught up in that last lap accident. He came home in 22nd. Kyle Larson, after flipping, he gets posted in the 24th position. Clint Boyer came home in 29th after his wreck. Was able to get back out there, but ended up 6 laps down at the end of the race. Final page, 31st through 40th, Matt DiBenedetto landed in the 31st position. Justin Haley in his first Cup start had a good run going. He was inside the top 10 a couple of times, but of course got caught up in one of those big ones and came home in the 32nd position. Jimmy Johnson, to be honest, I don't know what happened to him. He was 10 laps down at the end of the race in 33rd. He was running at the end of the race, but I don't know that he doesn't show having been caught up in any of the accidents, and I never noticed anything that actually happened to him, so it had to be some sort of a mechanical issue of some sort, but nonetheless, he came home in 33rd. Denny Hamlin, after his accident, 36th. Kevin Harvick, 38th. Bubba Wallace came home in the 39th position. All right, that's your results from the GEICO 500. So let's head over to the media center, and we will see what Chase Elliott and his team had to say after this one.
Yeah, orchestrating it in the communication up front and laying out the plan was the majority of the hard work. The execution today was just, staying calm and sticking to our guns and staying committed to the cause. And fortunately, everybody did that, and it worked really, really well. And the plan went, really pretty much how we laid it out. So you don't get those all the time. So we'll certainly take it, and proud of everybody, at Chevrolet and all the Chevrolet team members. And, we needed to win this. We needed to consolidate our efforts, and we needed to break the streak that one of our rivals has here.
It was just, last year obviously was good with the 3 wins. The cool thing about today is how early in the year it is, and those playoff points propelling some of those guys to the Final Four. Obviously, you need to win at other places, aside from a speedway too, but a sticker's a sticker, and the playoff points are what they are, and I think it's important to rack them up as early as you can, as long as you can keep stacking on top of it, so it's certainly a big deal. Excited about it, and just nice to get a speedway win. We've been close and had some really fast cars, and Alan's never won one in his 15 years crew chiefing, or however many years it's been, so that's pretty cool. And just looking forward to enjoying it.
And we'll take a look at your playoff grid. 10 races into the season before wrapping up here today. We're almost halfway through the regular season already. 10 races down, 16 left in the regular season. And the playoff grid starting to take shape just a bit. Still a lot of jockeying down near the bottom around the cutoff line, which is to be expected. Chase Elliott now the latest to lock himself into the playoffs with a win. You see him there now highlighted in green, as all the other winners are. The biggest changes, of course, come down here near the bottom. Austin Dillon up to the 13th position. Ryan Newman up one as well to 14th. Alex Bowman jumping 6 spots with that second place finish. He is now back into the playoffs in 15th. Jimmy Johnson lost 3 spots. Now he is down to the 16th position and barely holding on by 4 points to a playoff spot. Paul Menard dropped a spot and dropped back out of a playoff spot this week down to 17th. Eric Jones lost a spot as well down to 18th. William Byron is up one now, slightly closer to the playoffs there in 19th. And Ricky Stenhouse continues to fall. He's now down another 2 spots to the 20th position. And another name you don't see on here at all anymore, mostly because of his last lap accident, Kyle Larson is now down to the 21st position in points, 17 points below Jimmy Johnson in 16th. So it has been a terrible start to the season for Kyle Larson. He had a fast car today. He was running up front a lot of the day, but then he had his little tumble on the backstretch in the last lap, and that did not do him any favors in the points. So it's not been a good start to the season for Kyle Larson. At this point, I mean, he's not got that big of a points deficit to get back into the playoffs, but at the same time, I think with as much bad luck has been surrounding him this early in the season, honestly, at this point, I think he's going to have to win to get into the playoffs. I don't think he's going to be able to point his way into the playoffs unless he can completely shake this bad luck and start clicking off some consistent top 5, top 10 finishes. But I just don't know that he's going to be able to with the luck he's had so far this season. It's just been terrible. I don't know that we've seen someone with this much bad luck to the point where it's going to keep them from the playoffs. It's probably been a few years since we've seen somebody with that much bad luck to kill their playoff chances. So it's terrible to see Larson going through that. But I think they will rebound in some way, whether it be getting a win and getting into the playoffs that way, and then hopefully fixing the problems as they get into the playoffs, or maybe just shaking the bad luck altogether and getting into the playoffs that way. So we will see what will happen with that 42 team in the remaining 16 races here until the playoffs. But that is your playoff grid following the GEICO 500 at Talladega, and I believe that'll do it for us on this Cup Rewind. We had an Xfinity Rewind go up earlier today. It actually went up a little later than I had meant for it to, but it ended up going up basically right as the checkered flag flew in the Cup race. Then we had an ARCA Rewind go up yesterday with a winner interview with Todd Gilliland. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. It will be linked down below in the description. And then, of course, pole position, as usual, coming up tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. on Monday in the Eastern Time Zone, to recap you on everything that happened this weekend, not just in the world of NASCAR, but in all forms of motorsports. We had, off the top of my head, I know we've got F1 to talk about. I believe we have NHRA to talk about. We should have World of Outlaws to talk about, and was there a Formula E race this weekend? I think there might have been one of those as well. So we've got some things to talk about on pole position this weekend or on Monday. So tune in for that. It will be a good time. Monday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. But at that, this has been the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.